So you might be a player who struggles to control the flight of their wedges. And on a golf course, you might be in a situation where you need to flight it in higher or lower. Well, if you're struggling to do that, then this video is really going to help. So let's get into it. Welcome back to the channel, guys. I'm Danny Malcolm. Thanks so much for joining me in today's video. Today, I'm going to talk about how to control the trajectory or the flight of your wedges. Now, that's super important when it comes to trying to get the ball close in different situations such as if the pin's tucked behind the bunker, then you might have to flight that ball in higher, land it softer. If the pin's right at the back of the green, then you might need to flight the ball in lower and chase it up there, but with the same club. So in this video, I'm going to give you a few ideas and some skills and some practices that you can implement into your game to help you control the flight much better. So let's get right into it. In this video, I'm going to use my 58 degree, but this applies to really any of your wedges. But here, so really, how can you manage that flight of your wedge? This is 58 degrees, so it should come off pretty much in, well, not quite that angle because I might be hitting down on it a little bit, but generally that's going to be a rough idea if you stand in a club, a rough idea of your launch, or just slightly lower than that. So that's a good indication of how a standard shot would flight. However, there's things that we can do to vary that should you need. So first thing, of course, you can do is just change your club. So if I show you my 58 here versus my stock pitching wedge, that's my pitching wedge, that's my 58. So you can see the difference in the launch angles of those particular clubs. And I've got a couple of clubs in between as well. So that's one way. Then this way I'm going to give you some skills of how you can manage it. So firstly, it's all about really what's happening at impact. So I've put on the screen here launch angle. So I'm just going to hit some normal pitch shots here and just note what that is as a baseline. So normal shot, and let's just see what launch angle comes out there. So 37, that's launching at 37 degrees. So we'll go again, see if it's pretty similar. That's 36 degrees. So that's just a standard kind of pitch shot where I'm getting my shafted impact relatively neutral, relatively straight up. So if I want to flight that in lower, well, what could I do? There's some simple ideas. I mean, a few things here. Ball position. So we could just bring the ball back in our stance. And what that's going to do is actually going to get our handle a little bit more forward relative to where that ball is. So now I can make the same swings there, and that impact, that handle will be forward slightly, that'll deal off the club, and that should give a lower launch angle. So we'll hit one here. So that's come out at 28. I'll do that again. So ball's back in the stance there, handle's forward relative to that. That's come out lower again. So that's one way to get it lower. Now if I want to get it a bit higher, well, I can just do the opposite and pop the ball forward. Now, of course, you need to be on a good lie if you're going to do that, because you're going to come in a little bit shallower into the golf ball. So if that thing's sat down in a not very good lie, this is not ideal. So it needs to be on a nice cushioning. So relative now, where the ball is, my hands relative to that will be a little bit further back, and that's going to add loft to the shot. So what we'll see here, it's a launch angle that's increased again. So that's up at 39. Or 40 even. We'll go again. And that's up at 43. Now you can see with that one, it's not the best shot to play because unless it's sat really nicely there, I've kind of drop kicked it, and there's a very good chance that you might even blade that as the leading edge raises a little bit from the ground. So, but that's one idea of how I can control the trajectory with the same club. Another idea is distance from the ball. So if I was to stand here a little bit closer to the ball and make some swings with the ball in the middle, just normal swings, that's actually going to give me a swing arc that's a little bit more steep by the time it actually comes into the ball. So if I was to hit one from here, just notice that's come down at 32 launch angle. So I'm much closer to the ball. The handle's a little bit higher, so the plane of the swing's a little bit higher. And again, there, so that's coming at 32 again. Now if I was to stand further away from the ball, get this handle lower and not changing anything else other than that's going to now make my swing a little bit flatter, more round, more shallow. What that'll do to the launch angle, same swings, and that's climbed up again. So my handle's lower. And that's why you'll often see in bunker shots, for example, when players stand further away, you get the handle lower. So we get low and further away to hit the ball high. If you want to hit it lower, come close. And there you go. So that's one little tip there. Now, coming into something a little bit more advanced in terms of how to control trajectory. Now, this is all with kind of the release and what you're doing a little bit more with your hands through impact. So if I want to play a normal shot again, like I did at the beginning, I'm just getting that club to come relatively neutral back at impact, and that's going to give me that roughly that 37-ish kind of launch angle, 35-ish there. So if I was to now want to play one lower, well, what can I do? Well, essentially I need to take the loft off this club a little bit. So by allowing my hands to sort of move a little bit further away, or the arc of my hand path just working further away post impact, that's going to give me a better chance of keeping the loft off the club. Okay, so you can see that finish, my hands are a little bit further away, a little bit more abbreviated, and I'm just keeping the loft off that club a little bit. So I'll just take a shot here. There, you notice how that's come down to 25 just by keeping that loft off there. So that's one way that you can keep it lower. I'll just do that one again. And see, I'm kind of just covering the ball a little bit with my body as well. My weight for this can be a little bit further forward as well, just to promote that more of a downward attack angle into the ball. So weight slightly forward, handles forward, and that's keeping that flight super low. So that'll be a good one if you've got the pin at the back of the green, you're just trying to chase it up there, a couple of skips and then stops pretty quickly. So that's hitting it low. Now if you want to hit it high, then we need to do the opposite of that. So rather than the hands finishing further away from you here, is you actually start to let your hands work closer to you post impact. So almost like this radius from your butt end of your club to your belt buckle stays pretty much the same as you turn through, or even comes a bit shorter. And that's what that's going to do, is allow the club head to take over the hands, and then by the time you get to impact, there'll actually be a little bit more loft on there as well, and that's going to send that club a bit higher. So you may also feel not quite as much weight on the front foot, but you may also feel a little bit of cupping in this lead wrist, which helps just keep the loft on as well. Watch there as I come through. It's almost like you're keeping the club face pointing to the sky a little bit more as the hands come in closer to you. So it's this soft feeling. And notice how I'm not working forward with my body. So when I was trying to hit it low, I was here covering it a little bit more, hands forward. Now the club head passes my hands. I stand up tall, chest high, almost like I'm just coming backwards, even ever so slightly, if I want to hit it higher. So now we'll give that a go. There we are. There, so now it's popped up there almost towards 40. I was on 40. So we'll go again. There, 40 again. So you can see the difference in the finish to hit it higher there versus there. So that's two different flights there. So that's another way that we control it. Now finally, these are going a little bit more in depth, but finally another way is just controlling the loft on your club with that same club. So we can, if you want to hit it lower, we can de-loft that club, so we can turn it in ever so slight, well, as much as you like really. And to counteract that, you may need to just close your stance a little bit, and then you can just hit some shots where that'll just chase in that little bit lower because you've closed the face. It might even get a slight little draw shape on it, try a little draw pitch into there. But if you want to hit it higher, you can open that face up, do the opposite. So turn that face open, take your grip, and just be mindful of this is going to raise the leading edge of the club. Whenever you open the club, the effective bounce increases, so this needs to be on a good lie whenever you're opening the club, unless you've got a low bounce option in your bag. So from here, opened up the club there, and And that one's gone out of bounds, lost ball, but it's gone nice and high, 45 degrees of launch. So that's another way to control trajectory. So you see there, there's quite a few different ideas that you can use, some more simpler than others, such as ball position, such as changing the club, which for most everyday golfers I would recommend the club being the main one. But then have a little play and a wonderful drill. One of my favorite drills to do here is what I call the 9-ball pitching drill. So what you're going to do for that is just pick up maybe your 3 wedges. And so I'll start here. I'll go with my 50 to start with, which is the first of my main wedges. Here we go. And the whole idea here is just to imagine if you was out on the practice green, you've got 3 different flags. One's front of the green, one's in the middle, and one's at the back. So the front one is going to be more of a high shot, high trajectory, and you need to land it soft. Middle one's going to be a normal trajectory, and the back pin's going to be that low trajectory. So this is just working on your skill now, not so much messing around with the technique. That's something to practice on its own. But now, at the end of a practice session, if you're working on pitching, is let's imagine I've got a front pin. I've got this 50, and I need to hit it in that little bit higher. So I'm going to use some of those ideas to try and flight that thing a little bit higher. That's come out at 37 for my 50. Now I'm going to go to that middle flag out there on the green. Just play a normal pitch shot, which should flight in that little bit lower. And now I'm going to go to the pin at the back of the green and flight that thing in low. There we go. So you can see the different trajectories on those shots there. And then I do the exact same thing with my 54. So we go front flag, middle, and then back. So high, medium trajectory, and then low trajectory. So we'll go high to start with again. Let's go up at 36. I'm going to flight one in at medium. 31. And then we'll fizz one in there low. So I might exaggerate this, get it back at a stance, as well as my feeling for me is just keeping the weight forward on my lead side and keeping my hands slightly ahead to get that thing in low there. And that'll chase to the back of the green down there at 19. That'll be a low fizzer, a couple of bouncers, and then check. So that's my 54, and then I do the exact same thing as I did before with my 58-degree club as well. So that there, I hope that helps. There's some technical ideas and things you can do, again some simpler than others, to work on your trajectory and your flight sort of control. Then that there at the end, the 9-ball pitching drill is a great one just to practice, just to develop that skill without thinking too technically there. So I hope that's given you some ideas of how to manage your trajectory. If there's any questions, please let me know. And if you haven't already, please, if you consider liking and subscribing to the channel, particularly if you like these videos, if you just pop a like, it'll let me know to do more of them. If you don't like them, then that's fine. And obviously I won't do so many more. But thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video.